Hey folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to make a pretty little stretch bracelet using some elasticity and beads from both my pink dragon fruit mini mix and my baby blanket mini mix from Jessie James Beads. This is going to be a bright little necklace, and I hope that people are going to like it. Let's turn down and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, I have this lovely pile of beads right here that I'm going to use for the bracelet. And then we have some elasticity. Now we'll need at least 9 to 10 inches of the elasticity. Well, you don't really technically need that much. I just tend to use that much because, well, I don't like to run out of cord accidentally. So we'll cut off 10 inches. And you notice I just used regular scissors. The elasticity cuts really easily. Now, if you want to use a different kind of stretch cord, that's perfectly all right. I frequently use Stretch Magic as opposed to elasticity. So the first thing you want to do is give this quite a few good stretches. You don't want it to stretch out when you're wearing it, so it's better if you get it stretched good before. So there, I have done that. Then I'm going to put a bead stopper on one side so I don't have to worry about my beads falling off. And then we're going to get our pattern all put together here. Okay, so this bead here is my focal. Then I'm going to put these little teardrops on either side of it. And there are a couple of little crystal spacers in here. I'm going to put those on the end of my blue teardrops. And then we've got a couple of roses. We're going to put those beside there. Then we have these large corrugated melons. Those will go on either side of the rose. And then we're going to have hot pink. Another corrugated spacer. Yellow. One of these little daisy spacers. Now these daisy spacers are out of my stash. That's about the only thing out of my stash, actually. We'll have this guy. More spacer. More yellow. More spacer. Big pink. And this bone is on here because it's got a bigger hole, and this is where I want to try and get my knot to go through. So what we're going to do is start beading from this side, and then we'll check to see how long it is. Now those daisy spacers feel a little tight to me. If they do end up being too tight, just take your bead reamer and ream it out a little bit. Now the hardest thing about making a stretch bracelet isn't the beads or anything like that, it's the knot. And you want to make sure your knot is good and secure. And I use a particular knot that has never failed me. However, if you don't get it right put together, it will. But if you have it tied right, it's an excellent knot. But it is a rather large knot, and that's why you need a pretty good sized bead with a pretty good sized hole for it to go into. Now this is going to be a really bright little bracelet. It'll be great for spring and summer. Now these ones can be a little tricky to get your to get through because they're hollow inside. So they're going to want, it's just going to roll to the side. If you're not careful, it won't go straight through. So we want to try and get our, unfortunately with an elastic cord you can't just pull it and straighten it like you can with some regular cords. So there we go. Now the other side, exactly the same. Well, opposite. Now we put the bone bead on, and I'm going to do something a little different here, and that is I'm going to push these beads down here a bit so that there's giving me a little more space. Come on, back over here some. And then I'm going to take this second wire or strand, and I'm going to go back through our bone bead. Now you're probably saying, why are you doing that? Well, that's because I'm going to pull them up like so, and we want to see how long these are. If it's long enough, then I can take one strand out of the bone bead and we will tie the knot. If it's not, then we have to come up with adding a few more beads. And see, it's a little bit small. I want my bracelet to be about 7 inches, and it's 6 3/4. And even that's not quite right because I can see some bag in the beads. See, right there? So we want to get our beads up and close to each other so that we know exactly how long this is, so we know about how much we have to add. So we need to add quite a bit because we need about, at least a 1/2 inch more. So let's see what we can do to get that 1/2 inch. Now these are our beads from the baby blanket kit. I'm not sure. And these are the ones from the Dragonfruit. Now, the remaining beads are actually a little darker than I want to use as far as Dragonfruit because I want these bright pastel-y colors. But we do have a couple more roses in there. I'm actually not real fond of the roses. I love roses generally because, well, my name is Rose, so. But these tend to roll, and they drive me nuts when they do that. So I'm not sure I want to put another one of those on. Though I could, like right here, and it would just add more to this pattern. But on the other hand, I'm not sure I want to do that. I could get a couple more of the bone beads just to add some more of the this color into here, and that might be what I do, because even though I have a couple of more of these turquoise drops, but I don't know that I want to use them in here. Though we could. In fact, we could put them right here towards our bone bead. There's the other one. And that would probably definitely give us the length we needed. And there's one more of these. See if I can see another one of these little crystal spacers for the, there we go. Now those might be actually longer than I want. I also have this pretty crystal bead that I could put in here. But if I wanted something a little smaller, I could use these pale yellow ones. I know there's got to be another one of you in there, so where are you? Just take the tassels out of my way here. See if I can see that other yellow bead. There it is, finally. I would try just the yellow beads, but I think that would be too small. But we're going to keep them out in case we need them. But right now we're going to put in the blue ones and see if that makes the difference we need. So we'll put on a blue one on either side, as well as one of the little crystal spacers. Then we'll put our bone bead back on this side. Then we'll go put these on this side here. Now if we need the extra length of those little yellow ones, we will put those on, but I will need to get a couple more little spacers out. So let's put this through here again. Pull her up tight. And we do want to pull her up tight. We want those beads all to be going together so that we don't have a little excess space here. We'll get our sizer back out and slide her down onto here. Oops, it came out. I have to find the beads I just lost. Well, now that I've picked the beads off the floor, let's put them back on here. Yellow one fell off. Spacer. Pink. Uh-oh, we have a spacer missing, it looks like. Yes, I have a spacer missing. I don't see it here anyway. So I will have to go find a new spacer. I'll be right back. Okie dokie, here's my spacer back. Put her on there, get the blue ones on. And through the bone bead again. Now this time, I am going to pull these tight, and then I am going to take my bead stopper and put over those so that hopefully I won't drop them again. So here we go. Let's see what length this is now. In fact, that looks like it's about perfect at the 7. So we're going to tie our knot now. We don't need these little other yellow ones, so we'll put these back in the case. Now, what we need to do now is we need to remove this, obviously, and then we're going to take this back out of this other side. Now we need to carefully hold this and stretch it a few times. We want that extra stretch. Now let it drop back down. Then we're going to take hold of our two wires, our two thread elastic pieces here. And I'm going to, this is why I like it a little longer than this. You want to wrap it around 2 fingers, pulling it tight all the time. Then force both these strings through this once, and then again twice. Now while you're holding that tight, pull this one finger out, tighten it again, and then carefully tighten as you slide this off your finger here. You want to tighten it though, and get it good and tight. There we go. There's our knot. Now give it a few stretches, and as you can see, it didn't loosen. In fact, it probably tightened some because that's the way this knot does. So it's a very good knot. I actually may have got it a little too tight, but that's all right because the elasticity will stretch a little bit more over time, and that way it's not going to bag on me. So now I'm going to take my scissors and cut this extra little bit of, leaving just a little bit of tail. Cut those off. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can just leave it now and just pull the knot into the bead, or you can put a little hypo cement on it. Now hypo, you don't want to use you could also use some E6000, but the hypo cement's a little bit easier to control. And it will come out of this on its own without squishing if you wait a little while and hold it downwards. In fact, once it starts coming out, it's hard to get it to stop. So, get that over here onto this. Okay, now we need to get this closed up quickly because as you can see, it's still coming out. So there we go. That's closed up now. Now don't use super glue on your elastic bracelets. Super glue will break the elastic because it's it dries really hard. Come on, bead. You should be plenty big enough for that knot. That's why I chose you. Now we want to get the knot inside that bead. There it just went. So there we go. All done. Isn't that pretty? Now you want to leave it alone for a bit while this dries some. It won't, I was going to say it won't dry entirely. It does, but it's malleable once it dries. That's why you want to use the GS Hypo Cement on this as opposed to super glue. Super glue dries really hard, and then once you stretch it, it just breaks the elastic just like that. So no super glue. So there is our pretty little bracelet. Very springy. And it is seven inches. Well, yeah, right about at 7 inches. So just the size we wanted it to be. So like I say, as this is worn, it's going to stretch out a little more. So but there's our bracelet. So here's our bracelet. Isn't that pretty? Very bright and colorful and spring and summery. There's our one bone bead, which has the knot inside it. The rest of them are all pastel-y colors from out of my Jessie James Beads mini mixes, Pink Grapefruit, and Baby Blanket. As I said, everything in here, other than the bone bead and these little daisy spacers, are from one or the other of these 2 boxes. So, hope you liked making this with me. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.